Okay, so now the part we want to work on is this kind of lip that jumps out of the ship. It comes out of the ship and kind of connects to this interface. So I'm going to go back into side view. Let's give myself some more room to work. And in wireframe, I am going to, let's see. So I'm in edit mode now. And if I select just this one vertice and hit L, that whole thing is selected. And I'm going to hit H to hide that piece. Because when I was, well, shucks, it doesn't quite hide it. But let us Alt-H. Alt-H unhides. So for now, I'm just going to zoom in, hold Alt, grab these pieces, and pull them back, up to here. So, okay, sorry about that. Okay, so we want the lip thing to start coming out at about this piece and go to about here. So I need to add a ring cut, and the shortcut is Control R. So if I hit Control R, I can't see my ring. I just right click to cancel, because by default it goes to the middle of where, so like between those two edges. So when I hit Control R, you might have to zoom out. We're going to left click to confirm and slide it into place. And then I'm going to go to face select mode, and I'm going to go to solid shading, or we need one more ring right here. So Control R, slide it into place. I'm going to go to face select, and I think it'll work better if we do solid shading, because if I select the face on this side, it might be selecting it on the opposite side because it's in wireframe. So let's go to solid shading with Z. I'm going to deselect everything, making sure everything's deselected. I'm going to just, now instead of holding shift and just selecting all these faces, you can hit C to go into circle select mode and scroll the circle wheel in. So now if I just kind of click and drag, I'm just kind of painting those pieces, but I think there's some faces hiding right here that didn't get selected. So I'm going to hit C and just kind of paint those and delete those faces with X. And when you hit X, you have a choice. I'm going to delete the faces. So now let's go into edge select mode. I'm going to hold shift and select. I'm holding shift so I can select more than one edge at a time. So I selected those two edges, and I'm just gonna hit E, and I'm extruding, and I'm gonna hit Y to constrain it, and I'll just drag it right to about there. So we have kind of a problem here. One, it goes in. Like if you look at here, it kind of follows or even comes outside of this hull. So we have a couple options. I could bring it back by dragging it on the Y to about that point and pulling it out, or I could have just made like another loop cut and drug out the loop cut. But either way works. I'm going to extrude it again on the Y. And if you look in front view though, like nothing ever really pops. It's kind of interesting, my front view, my enterprise isn't quite fitting with it, so I might adjust that in a second. But anyways, the point is you should drag this new edge in just a little bit so it kind of lines back up with the circle, this outer circle. So we want to make some new faces. So I'm going to select this edge and hit F. And this edge and this edge and hit F. F means, and so now there's like new faces created. Now this is going to be a really ugly face, but because this edge will be like totally flat, it won't be a really big deal. Normally you want faces to be squares or rectangles like these faces, but this face is like, oh, it has all these different points. It's a really strange polygon, but we're just gonna go with it. So in edge select mode, if you hold Alt and click one of these edges, this is all a loop, so we'll hit F, go here, and make sure you have that weird thing, and F. So now we have kind of a pretty cool looking edge. It's maybe not perfect. If we go to face select and try to select that face, let's just see what happens if we scale it on the Z and bring that Z to 0. It kind of makes it level. Like, that looks pretty level to me. But right now it looks kind of at like it's tilted at an angle. But if we hit S and scale on the Z axis and then hit 0, it looks level to me now. So that's okay. There's these like cool looking vents and details, and just a way to like cheat. If we're here and if we select these two faces, I'm going to inset them a little bit by hitting I, and then I just want a little border. So now we have these two faces selected and we have this like edge here. So I'm going to make a bunch of new faces out of these two by going to, you can go into faces, like your faces menu, but if you hit W, it gives you this specials menu, which has like some cool tricks. So with those two faces selected, I'm going to hit W and subdivide it. And then W, subdivide, W, subdivide. And that is probably good enough. So we're going to deselect everything, and now we have all these faces. In face select mode, if you hold Alt and click in between the faces, it goes that way. Or if you hold it that way, click that way. Like if you're on the top of a face, it'll go vertical. If you're on the side and hold Alt and click. So hold Alt and Shift, because if you're not holding Shift, it's only going to do one at a time. So let's alternate. I'm just holding Alt and Shift. Okay, and now with those faces selected, we're going to extrude them in. So hit E and then X to push them in on the X a little bit, just a little. So now we have this really cool kind of vent. Okay, so we worked really hard on modeling that edge, and we don't want to put in the effort to do it on the same side. So we can just cut our model in half and mirror it, so we don't have to duplicate all our work this whole time. So I'm going to pause it and just get reset. So I was thinking of fixing this blueprint and scaling it and kind of repositioning it. You could do that, but we're still in the ballpark, so I'm going to ignore that. So let's go back into our edit mode, and if you hit Z, we can see our wireframe mode, and basically we want to cut it right down the center. So I see I have those vents still selected. I'm going to hit A to deselect everything, and there was circle select by hitting C, but there's also something called box select, where if you hit B, you get this, like, you can click and drag, and I'm going to click and drag and try to get to the center, but you have to, if you're in face, you have to get over those dots to actually select the face, so I still haven't quite made it. So I'm going to go hit B again, click and drag, and there. So now I can see, you don't have to do this. I'm going to turn off my background images, so I can see I have this circle cut in half. I'm going to hit X and delete faces. So turn my background images back on. So remember, we had this edge split modifier over here in our wrenches. If you go add modifier, generate, mirror, I'm mirroring my object on the X axis, which is the red. So and it also generates the mirror based on this origin. Okay, so now we have pretty much finished our hull, except there's one last piece, that little piece down there, and we're going to do it kind of similar. So we have that loop cut. We're going to delete these faces, and I'm going to make sure they're all, unfortunately, all those got. So let me try that again. When you're selecting, I'm going to turn off the mirror just for now, and when I select, I'm going to just be extra careful. If you get some things in your selection that you don't want, in circle select you can just click with the middle mouse button. Cool. Turn back on the mirror and hit X, delete faces. I'm going to grab this edge, go over here and just extrude it on the Y. And I'm going to make with that edge, I'm going to make a face. And once again, it kind of goes in, so let's make a loop cut and just drag it down a bit. And then let's select that, holding Alt, click that edge and hit F. And let's scale it on the X to 0, so SX 0. And that looks pretty good. Okay, so now we have the hull finished. So of course save your project and let's take a break.